So, hey, folks, I am so honored to have Michelle MacConnell with me today. We are good buddies, and I was just catching up with her, like on all the new things that she is putting out there in the world. And she just has this, I don't know, green thumb. As you know, these interviews are very casual. I don't have any preset questions or anything. We're just having a conversation as friends, and we're sharing it with you. So she has what I would call like a green thumb with tech. Like a green thumb instead of gardening, it's a green thumb with tech. This stuff just comes naturally to her, and she has a virtual assistant business, which is so lucky for those people who get to have her, and also is putting together, I guess has already put together a membership site to teach those of you who might be more in my lane, like not so much tech, how to do it. So, Michelle, can you tell us, please, what you're just about to tell me? I'm like, oh, we got to record this. So tell me how it all happened.
So for me, I wanted to put together some training, or really the how-to, after everybody's worked with a coach. Or if you're brand new, when you first start on online business, and you're like, so how do I put my autoresponders in place? How do I put an opt-in on my website? And this was my struggle when I first started working in the online world. And I'll give you a little bit of background of me. I worked corporate for 15 years, and I did contracts. So I did legal contracts and I managed. And during that time, I really thought I was pretty good with tech and with computers. And then I started the online world. And I worked with coaches, and they'd say, okay, I need you to go take this next step. And I'd be like, I don't know how to do that. But they didn't know.
Seriously? Even you? Oh, that makes me feel so much better.
Yeah. So I had to learn all this. And a big part of it was, it's hard to piecemeal that information together. And it's really hard when, and I'm sure you know this, as a coach, when you work with business coaches or you work with different coaches for different things in your business, well, they're not an expert in everything you're going to do. And they're not always an expert in those little techie steps that you need to do. And that's where I kept tripping up. So I kind of transitioned from, doing some business coaching myself with other clients for wellness. And I would tell them, okay, I need you to go add your freebie to your website. And they'd be like, okay, now what? And so I found myself doing a lot of tutorials just to help clients. And as you know, me and you were together in a program, and I couldn't figure out what my thing was.
Yes.
And it just kept coming out. It's the tech. So I had tons of material already, tons of training. So I was like, why don't I put this into a place where it's totally affordable for people to be able to access and be able to take those steps when they're working with a coach, or even if they're not working with a coach. How do you create an online program? All those little things. So that's what I've put together is called the Digital Training Hub.
Oh my gosh, Michelle, I'm so excited. I mean, I realized I didn't even introduce myself at all. I'm just like, woo, we want to, make sure that people know. So I'm Karen Trepte with Guiding Works Coaching, for those of you who don't know me. And I'm a productivity coach. I love working with time management. I love bringing these folks to you that, are going to help you do your business. And I'm always talking to people about working with their strengths when they're coming to me, like, what business am I going to do, Karen? I'm always talking to them about, like, what you love, what you have. I think we have, for those of you who didn't see the interview with Denise Duffield-Thomas, I mean, some of us, we just have these blocks in our head, like, it's got to be hard. Yes. And things that are easy to us, we're just like, oh, that can't possibly be a business because it's easy. But the reality is we all have different strengths.
Yeah.
And so for you to pick up on what's already there for you just makes so much sense to me.
But, and the funny thing, I'm glad you said that, because I've shared this with quite a few people. This was not an overnight thing for me. I couldn't figure out what was easy for me. And that was the funny part is, I kept telling people, I've always been the go-to gal. And people go, well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
You know, I've always been that person at work that everybody would come to find the answer. And it's not that I always knew the answer. I just always knew where to look or how to go track that down. And I did it so often. It was in front of my face all the time. And same with the tech and digging into the back stuff with clients. It was always in my face. And so I couldn't see it. That's what I did every day.
Yes.
And it wasn't until one day somebody just said to me, so why don't you just teach what you do? And I was like, oh, yes.
That's right. That's right. And for those of you entrepreneurs who are out there still trying to figure out what you love and what you want to do, you know, take this to heart and really just ask your friends. That's a good exercise that we did. And did you go to B school too?
I did.
Okay, so that's a great tip that Marie Forleo gives out is, you know, go to your friends, go to people who already love you and kind of ask them like what you do. Because sometimes we are like really blind to this stuff.
Yeah.
So for me, I mean, I'll just share, like I used to carry around, that's why I decided to niche down to be a productivity coach, because that stuff just comes so easily to me, and I never even thought about it. Like I used to be one of those nerds, I'm still a nerd, who would carry around my little Franklin Covey book, and my daughter would tease me all the time. She's like, oh, you want to know what mom's doing on this day? You all have to do is look in her book. And I mean, it was true because I would calendar everything out manually at that point. I've now transitioned, woohoo, to the digital world.
Nice.
But then I would keep my little notes of meetings and so on the left. And you know what? Those things were really, I was flipping homes. I built my first house when I was 21. So I did a lot of real estate development, and those notes, I mean, being organized and having those notes were super important. So back to you. Let's talk about, you were in corporate for 15 years. You were doing legal contracts. Now because I know some of our audience too is going to be like, oh, I'm not sure if I should make this big leap or not. Like, what convinced you, Michelle?
You know, for me, it was kind of a process. So probably about 5 years prior to leaving my job, I took nutrition. So I also became a holistic nutritionist on a path trying to figure out what I wanted to do, what I was good at. And I discovered that wasn't my thing, but I did it part-time, you know, and I always suggest to people, and this is my own personal suggestion, is it doesn't have to be an either or thing. You know, it's not an A, B thing. It can be a C. There is a C option. It can be that you do things part-time until you feel good that this is it, or you build up some income. I never want to see people put themselves in a position of starving, you know, and a do or die kind of situation. It doesn't have to be that way. So for me, it was a couple of years of doing the work and discovering this is really what I loved. And I just kept going back to it. For me, what the final thing was, and I'm very fortunate, I have an amazing husband who I've been with forever, and my kids are all grown, and my grandkids are now, you know, kind of doing their thing. So
you look so young. How many years have you been with your husband?
I have been with my husband almost 17.
That's neat.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for us, you know, we were in a position that he kind of just looked at me one day because I went down to part-time and I was still managing a team, but I was so stressed out because I was really, really unhappy. And it was getting to the point that I was so unhappy that my health was now being affected. Mm-hmm. So we got to that point where he just went, you need to go give your notice. So he pushed me off the ledge and just said, go give your notice and do this for a year and see if this is your thing. So that's what we did.
Gosh, I'm getting shivers, Michelle. That is just incredible.
Yeah, so I was very, very fortunate. And, you know, I'm not going to lie. It's, you know, being an entrepreneur is not easy work. But if you love it, it sure is worth it.
Yes. No, I want to tell people that too, because I think I don't think I'm the only naive one going in, but I really thought it would be a lot easier.
Oh,
than
me too.
it's been. I mean, it's hard. And I think even if you ask, like, certainly don't consider myself a big time, entrepreneur, but I think even if you ask some big time entrepreneurs, they'll tell you that that it was a struggle and that took them a while. And it's not just a 1 year. I mean, even 1 year seems like a long time to people when they're first starting, but it's not just a 1 year process to get it up and going.
No.
So I think that's important. I think that's important that we're honest and that we let people know that was great that your husband kind of pushed you
Yes.
off the ledge. And, for me, my daughter really helped me kind of go off that ledge because she had a great job in the Middle East, and she's like, Mom, why don't you just come with me?
Oh, wow.
And at that point, my husband's in construction, so our finances, and I've studied to be a financial planner too right after I took my MBA. You can tell I love to learn, but our finances have gone up and down for decades because construction work is cyclical.
Yeah.
And but he had a great job. It was kind of like my little moment in time. So I'd say to our audience, look for your ideal with intuition too. So look for your signals, look for those little hints, look for what your body's telling you, as to what's right. And even then it was super scary.
Yep.
But I did it, and I just kind of don't look back after that. So,
and I always think, like, when you were saying that, one of the things that it reminds me of, and I love anyone who's taken B school and knows who Marie Forleo is. I just love all the things that she always talks about. And one of the things she talks about is, she had to do a whole bunch of different jobs to be able to do what she loved. And sometimes that's part of it. And it's okay if you do that knowing going in. There's no shame in taking part-time work or doing other things. It doesn't mean you're not succeeding. You're still succeeding. You're doing the work by putting that time in and energy and moving forward.
That's right. And just knowing that it's going to take some time. I definitely agree. I would never encourage anybody to starve, as you put it. I would never encourage anybody to jump off a ledge that wasn't really ready to jump off that ledge. You've got to either have good savings behind you for your new venture, or, you've just got to have some other resources to carry you through.
Yeah. So, and be willing to do the work.
And that's a good one. Be willing to do the work. So I'd love to let's talk about both things that you're doing, Michelle. As a Gemini myself, I'm always great, It's so much fun to do different things. So tell us first about the virtual assistant job that you're doing or business that you're running. Do you have any openings? I think one time I asked you didn't. So
I don't. I'm actually completely booked. Okay. And, I'm so grateful. And I just want to say how grateful I am. Because, I don't think I would have been able to do that hadn't I taken, some really good, strong coaching. And, Jenny Shi, I absolutely love her. And I always like to give her a little plug because she's just been so awesome. Yeah. But one of the things with the business, doing the virtual VA, the funny part was that was my natural skill set. And I just didn't recognize it. I'd been doing administration, whether it was legal agreements in oil and gas, or, if it was doing actual admin, I was also an EA, like an executive assistant. And so I've always had that piece or that element to it. And for some reason, when I became an entrepreneur, I thought I had to do something completely different. Like you said, make it hard.
Right.
And so I wasn't doing that. But, one day a lot of my peers actually had asked me about, did I know how to do a few of the things I was doing in the back end? I was like, oh, of course I do. And it actually started with just one or two people asking me. I did a few things. And then Jenny, she has this exercise, and I think you know about it, about sending out an email and letting your peers and colleagues know what you're doing. And that's all I did. I just sent out an email saying, hey, this is what I'm up to. This is, the type of work I'm taking right now. And my business filled within the 2 months. I think it does. It is also because I do good work, I'd like to say, or at least I hope it is. But it really just started with that email. And a lot of it is because I've been consistent. I still show up online all the time. I still do all the things I need to do in my business. And my integrity shows with that. And I think part of that is why all the peers and even some mentors that I had are now my clients.
Wow.
Right. And that's really where it started.
That is so tremendous. So a couple questions about that. Did you email out to all those corporate buddies that knew your good work from 15 years?
No, I didn't. Now, here's the difference is because I've been in the industry for a little while doing, wellness, doing some business coaching and, my own personal work. So, going to yoga retreats and things like this, I met a lot of people along the way. So a big part of it was doing networking along the way. No matter what phase I was at in my business, I've always done networking. Make sure I got myself out there talking to people. And I always just made a point of staying in contact with these people. And, being in the online world, you see these people in groups and you chat and I would just consistently show up and be there when people needed me to be and vice versa, right? It was definitely a two-way street. And those were the people that I sent because I knew they probably had a better idea of the audience I was looking for. That I wanted to bring in, as clients. And so they might have had a better idea of people that I could help.
Right. So did you have their email addresses or were you sending it to them mostly on Facebook, like PMs or private messages?
Oh, email. Yeah. So one of the things I do when I do networking, and this is just my little thing, is usually if I'm in a group, I like to connect and I'll send out, even if it's a Facebook PM. I always tell people I'm PMing them. That's my big thing. Please, like whoever's listening to this, make sure you tell them you're sending them a PM. So you're not just randomly sending messages. But then I would say, hey, you know what? I'd love to do a 5-minute Skype chat just to get to know you a little bit better. No strings attached. I'm not looking for anything. And so a lot of these people, that's how it started. And we built relationships over time. And
so how did you get the email to begin with then? I'm curious about that.
Sorry. So I started out with PMing, and then once we would do a Skype, then we would just exchange emails, and then we'd just start communicating. Yeah.
Okay. And then that was from that base that you let those people know that, hey, this is what I'm doing now.
Yes. And a couple of them were also mentors. So I actually, when I started out, three of my clients are mentors. So they were people that, I went to all the time. And when I sent them an email, they were like, you know what, I just so happen to need help. So it was just perfect timing. Yeah.
That is so awesome, Michelle. So do you have a wait list available for anybody who's on this recording or what?
I do.
You do?
I do. So one of the things that I like to do is I do put people on a wait list. I usually am about 3 months out based on projects that I do with clients. And one of the things that I like to make sure is that I'm a really good fit for the client. So I usually, even if I'm putting them on a wait list, I will have a chat with them and we'll talk about what their needs are, kind of what they're looking for, what kind of work I do and what I don't do. And if I can't help, I often have someone I can help get them help from.
That's great. That's great. I'm actually, I started helping one of my newer clients just a couple weeks ago. I was coaching him, one of my first hymns, yay. Actually the second, but anyway, he just really needed help with his social media strategy and so on and putting together some things. And tech is not my zone of genius, at all. In that strength, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, SWOT, that's probably one of my weaknesses. But anyway, I had a virtual assistant friend that was still looking for hours. And so I sort of developed, it's just one of those things that popped up, and I don't know how it's going to pan out ultimately, but it's certainly helping him a ton in terms of I'm kind of project managing for him. And then I'm figuring out with him, what he needs to delegate, because he's already a really successful businessman. And then I'm doing the coordination with the VA. So
perfect.
If anybody on here, she still has a few more hours available. If anybody wants like 5 hours a week, 10 hours a week, just reach out to me in comments or email, however, and I will get you hooked up. When I first I saw his need, and I think that's how these things come up too. I thought, oh my gosh, when I first started my business, if I'd had somebody tell me, here, I'll help you for like 5 hours a week or whatever, I would have just jumped on it so hard, because most of the people that I talked to when I first started, like, no, we want you to hire us full time and so forth.
Yes.
So anyway, I just came up. I thought I'd share that. Yeah. One of the things that I really want to just commend you for, Michelle, that just so inspiring to me. I'm looking to get there. Social media is probably another one of my weaknesses, and it's not from my generation, if you will. It's something that is really brand new to me since I took B school. It's just how you are so awesome at adding value. I look at your stuff, Michelle, all the time. You're like posting these valuable articles and this and that, and you are on there. Can you talk to us just a few minutes, if nobody else, how much time do you spend on social media per day?
You know what? I actually don't spend a ton. I won't lie. So the beginning part is a lot of legwork. I really had to take time to understand who my audience was and understand their needs and what kind of curated information they want to have, what kind of articles I could write and share, what kind of, it's nice to have those really cute graphics, but sometimes, after a while you're like, okay, yeah, I'm done with the graphics. I need some meat, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, it was really about taking some time to understand the people that I wanted to reach and help. And especially the way I always approach social media for me is, okay, if somebody wanted to be able to work with me and they wouldn't be able to afford to work with me, what is the most valuable thing I can give them right now to help them move a step forward? Because that's really important to me, is to be able to help anyone who's coming to my site or even my social media, that they get something out of it. And it's not just fluff. So that's really where I started. And then I just started making a plan and kind of went, okay, I know consistency, B school was a big piece for me. I really understood and learned that you need to be consistent. So if you decide I'm going to blog once a week, blog once a week. If it's every 2 weeks, that's fine. But, whatever it is, get consistent and start planning it out. Mm-hmm. Once I had everything planned out and I put everything in place, literally it's probably 20 minutes a day.
Really?
Yeah.
You're on social media 20 minutes a day?
Yeah. So probably about 20 minutes a day.
Oh my gosh, Michelle, that is fantastic.
So, and a lot of that though is planning out, right? And I'm not on every platform. And that's the difference too, is I know in the beginning, a lot of people say, make sure you're out on all these platforms. And I do think it's important to have a presence on those platforms, but I think it's important to master one before you move on. It's like each one has such a different flavor and a different way of working. So one of the things that I noticed was everybody was really on like Hootsuite and Edgar and all these, and I do love them. I use Hootsuite and I've heard like Edgar is amazing. Mm-hmm. I'd love to use one of those again, but the thing that I struggled with the most was then if you don't understand that Facebook is really only 2 times a day you need to post, and it needs to be conversational and a certain feel and look to it, versus Twitter, which is super fast and you're going to post a whole bunch of times because the feed goes so fast, right? So if you're trying to put everything in Hootsuite and it's all the exact same content and you're just hitting all of these platforms, you're not really adding value. You're just kind of adding noise, right? Is the way I look at it. So that's why I kind of took a step back from the approach of using Hootsuite, which again, I'm not saying don't use Hootsuite because I think it's a great program and platform. But I needed to learn. It was like, okay, my audience is primarily on Facebook. And I love being on Facebook. That's where I hang. Anyone knows that's where I hang out, right? And that's what I like to do is master one. And then it's like, okay, now that I've got Facebook, now I can go to Twitter, right? So then that way you're adding really great content each time to each platform. And you're not just dumping stuff out there.
But you're only on Facebook 20 minutes a day, Michelle?
As far as business-wise, yes. I do go into other groups, and a lot of times I procrastinate on work, and I chit-chat in there, and I go into, like, you know, the groups that I like to hang out with people.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm on there more than 20 minutes a day, but 20 minutes for work stuff, yes.
Okay, so how much time a day are you in there total? Because I think your chit-chatting and your conversation, all that's building relationships, right?
Probably, I'm not gonna lie, probably like 2 hours a day. It probably adds up to about 2 hours a day, because I'll like check it. I'm like one of those people on my smartphone, even though I'm sitting at my computer, I'm checking it. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay. And how many years have you been on Facebook? Has this been something that you've like?
Business wise, probably like the last 5 years. Prior to that, you know, and even then, like, I had some really hard lessons to learn about Facebook ads and all these different things. It was like, you know, you need to learn your platform before you start doing things, and you need to get an idea of what works and what doesn't work. So what works for my audience might not work for yours, you know. So if I'm posting quotes and then you start posting quotes and yours are like, why is she posting all these quotes, right? Like, what is this, right? It might not work. So you just have to play around and figure out what works for your audience.
Okay, so 2 hours a day. That feels better to me in terms of, you know, how much I see you on there.
Yeah.
So,
like for the chit-chatty stuff.
I'm like, how on earth does she do that for 20 minutes?
Yeah, no.
So let's talk about your, so people can reach out to you. So folks that are listening out there know that she does have a wait list. Sounds like a great opportunity. And then in terms of your digital membership, do you mind sharing some prices with us? Is that
I will
to ask?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I'm really excited. One of the things about the Digital Training Hub is I only open the doors twice a year. So this year I'm still, we're doing our final beta, and then we're going to open the doors. So I haven't selected a final date yet because I just want to make sure everything is working and, you know, people have a really good experience while they're in there. So I'm only charging $25 US for a membership. And the reason being is I want people to have an affordable place that they can learn how to do the technical pieces. And I want to build it up as a community where there's a Facebook group and a forum where people can help each other and not just have me, and I want to have experts in there that will be able to help others as well. So that's really, you know, the intention behind the whole membership.
Awesome. So it's $25 a month then?
It is, yes.
That is very, very reasonable.
So right now we have people coming on a wait list, and then when the doors come closer to opening, I'll be sending out some promotional stuff and kind of helping people out with some early bird stuff.
Okay, my dog Belle. Hello, Belle. You really want to get in this, huh? Can you lie down for us, please? Lie down, honey. Belle, down. Okay. Great. So can you give us an idea, like give us some detail once they get on there? First of all, can you give us like a website? And we'll try, and when we post this on Facebook, we want to make sure that we get all that good information on there too. At least in the header, because I know Facebook's very picky about how much text goes in that picture.
That's right. What I'll do is I'll actually send you the link so that you'll have the correct link, but it is the digitaltraininghub.com.
Oh, that's easy. The digitaltraininghub.com. Okay,
Yeah.
so they go in there and they get on your wait list.
Yeah, they'll get on the wait list. They'll get some lovely little gifts for joining. So I do have right now, there's 2 free offers that are available. One is learn how to create your own freebie and get that on your website. And the other one is how to create an online course. So all the little techie pieces that you need to do that, including how to record it, the whole bit.
Great. Yeah, I just put out my Feng Shui time management online course, and that took me over a year to put together with another expert. So that's tremendous. So those are just their freebies going in then?
Yeah, so those are the freebies.
Wow.
And then each month there'll be a new how-to tutorial delivered. So what happens is it really just builds up over time. So there's a few in there right now when people go in there. So a little bit more on email service providers, like how to set up your Aweber or how to set up MailChimp, how to add your autoresponders, all those type of things. There's one in there for how to create video tutorials. And so those are the only 2 right now. But then each month there's a brand new tutorial that comes out. And I do have, and I can't say yet because I don't want to ruin the surprise, but there's a couple of months that I do have some really amazing specialists in their own areas that are actually going to be delivering the tutorials and doing a masterclass with me, so that people really get maximized amount of value out of each one of these. So the only thing with the membership site, and I've had people ask me even who have done the beta testing, can we download these video tutorials? And that's the only one thing, is you won't be able to download the video tutorials, but you can download all the content that goes with it. So there are tons and tons of workbooks that go with it. And there are a few audios that you can download along the way. And then basically, as long as you're in there, you can keep going back to each one of those tutorials and they'll be there for life.
So I bet you have a reason for that, right?
I do. The reason is because we're keeping it at $25 per month.
Right.
I just want to keep it fair to everyone who's coming into the membership.
Right.
That everybody gets the same value and the same amount of content, because it wouldn't be fair if somebody could come in and download everything and then next month not pay to use the membership and everybody else is still paying. So I wanted to make sure I keep it fair straight across the board for everyone who's using the site.
That sounds very fair, and thank you for explaining that. I mean, newer entrepreneurs listen to her because she's an expert at this, and you can pick up little tips here and there just on how, from the experienced ones like Michelle, right? So that sounds like a really wonderful resource for anybody who's a new entrepreneur. I mean, sometimes you can get information here or there, but really the value that you add by putting it all in one place, so that anybody just starting their own business knows, hey, I can just go to Michelle's site and just get this right here. Yeah. That sounds fantastic. So before we wrap this up, is there anything else that you would like to share with our audience?
Just that, just being able to spend time with you during the interview has been amazing, because I know the kind of work that you do. I see it out there. And again, we've been in a coaching program together, and I just know how passionate you are about your own business. And if people are looking for a model, you're definitely somebody to look up to. So again, thank you for having me.
You're welcome, Michelle. It's been such an honor to have you here today. And folks, so just send in your comments. I'm sure that Michelle will be happy to answer any questions that you have, right? And
absolutely.
I'm always happy to answer your questions on productivity, and I'm sure that this has added actually to your productivity 10 tons just today. So, okay, Michelle, well, take care, everybody, and sending you tons of light and love. This is Karen Trepte at DYIer Coaching.